Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional. Strap in. The show starts right now.
¿Cómo están, bitches? This is the Lineman Lounge. I am Mike. The man to my right is Evo, and we are back on this beautiful Sunday morning. It's not so beautiful out here in the Northeast, but I'm very fucking excited to be here. We have got a ton of shit to go over. I had a great weekend. I had one big thing happen, a lot of other just relaxing to do. And man, it was a great weekend, but I am fucking ready. I am back. We are both on heaters right now as it comes to our picks. I got some buddies who are always tuning in now, making sure that they are ready to go for our picks because we are fucking hot right now. I love it. Hey, your boys got to know what they're talking about every once in a while, all right? We may be a couple dummy thick idiots, but NFL is one thing that we absolutely do know. We also know how to have a good time on this show, and that's exactly what I'm excited for today. Evo, how's the weekend going, man? How is everything gone? I know that your boys up in Minnesota we're going to talk about them in a little bit, but before that, how's your weekend? Are we ready? Are you as ready as I am for today's show? Because I'm fucking pumped.
Hey, I'm still recovering just a little bit from last weekend. It was a wild Sunday for me after the show with my football team. So I'm in that recovery mode still. Ready for today's games though. I'm super pumped. And yeah, the weekend's just kind of slowly been going along, went out last night, had a little dinner, a couple drinks. So good time. But yeah, definitely ready to get into the show. We got notes. That's like we don't just pull these numbers and lines straight out of our butts when it comes to the betting lines. So we do the research for y'all because I'm not betting every single game,
I'm not betting every game either
with real money, but that's just because financially I'm putting my money towards other stuff right now. If you want to bet and you want to listen to us, we're going to try to give you the best advice as if we were betting. So I easily do at least, an hour or two of research every week, if not a little bit more, on what the picks are, what I'm doing here. So we want you guys to be successful if you're listening to us. And that's I think why we have as good a records as we do betting. So if you're into the sports gambling, specifically with football, it ain't gonna hurt to listen and get a second opinion on your bets, which I did make. I did make bets this week. I actually put some money down on the line for it. And so far, it's going good. But yeah, other than that, you kind of mentioned, I know we'll kind of kick into things here quick. I'll just get my stuff out of the way. My Maple Grove team, my high school alma mater, is going to the state championship second year in a row. They are going to be playing December 2nd, so I'm super proud of those guys. I will find a way to completely legally stream that on my computer when it comes to December 2nd in that game, because I just won a championship before I died. Hopefully with these guys, with my Vikings, which this year is not looking half bad, but I will be looking forward to hopefully getting a championship under my belt for one of my teams that I follow, because it's just been tough as a Vikings fan, tough as a Minnesota fan, even though I do have some early 90s Twins wins, but that was like right before I moved to the States. So
right. And I'm in the same boat, man. These guys are not very good at the football. These guys are really good at baseball, but that's not their name anymore. We'll talk about a little bit of baseball today. Ohio State, far left or far right over here, they're still very fucking good. They are still very good. The close game, closer than the score suggests. But yeah, I get it. I was very lucky. I was able to win a championship my senior year of high school as a football player. Shout out to all those guys I played football with. Actually, one of my old coaches tunes into us as well. So thank you guys for all of that. But yeah, I need a championship as well, and we'll kind of take that and we'll transition. I had a really great fucking Friday night, man. I was able to go to the Cleveland Cavaliers game. They awarded me with a $5,000 scholarship for the salute to service. Apparently, I'm fairly decent at writing. I'm really good at explaining, how I was at one point a world-class fuck-up and turn that around, and a lot of that is due to the Army. So, shout out Army. But we were treated to a fantastic night, food and drink included, great seats, and then the Cavs go out and they get a very needed double overtime win against the Hornets. That Cavs team is so fucking good, man. Darius Garland is an absolute superstar. Donovan Mitchell is a huge piece of this team. He is something that we have been missing on the perimeter, a guy who can step out, who can make a three, dribble, penetrate. They are going to be fantastic together. I'm very excited to where this Cleveland Cavaliers team is going. I'm actually rocking some Cavs gear today. Little Bugs Bunny Space Jam action.
We'll throw this up for the fans that might have not seen it.
There it is. There's your boy out on center court, getting a little recognition. I had a great time. I look good as fuck too. Like
I came.
The white kicks are just on point.
I shot hot white steamy ropes all over my room when I saw it. So
yeah,
there was a little cleanup afterwards.
Yeah, it was a fun game, man. Some crazy things happened. Nick, the guy that also received the scholarship, good dude, former Marine. He had a good time. Guys to our right, though, they had some money on this game. They did not like it when we went into overtime. They were thinking that bet was going to fail. Slams his hand into the table, just busts his hand wide open. Needed several fucking stitches to repair his hand. Blood everywhere.
That's not good.
No, blood was absolutely. It was a sight to see for sure. Yeah, and that's right. I am wearing sleeves. It's fucking cold here. We're gonna talk about weather a little bit today as we're talking about some of these games. It's cold. I started wearing flannels, and I got to tell you, I look really goddamn good in them. So. Man, it was so much fun. I had a great time. I ate, I drank, I was fat, dumb, and happy. And the Cavs won. So shout out to those guys. Thank you to the entire Cavs organization and Ohio Cat for selecting me for that scholarship. It means a great deal to me. And it's going to be very helpful for me, for the entire family, for the show. I mean, because shit, that's content right there, baby. I like it.
Absolutely.
It was a ton of fun.
Keep getting scholarships, Mike.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep trying to get some scholarships. I always love free money.
And we have Army specialist here. Apparently, he's back in my hometown-ish area in Minnesota. I saw you're up there for some, and I'm not even some Hmong ceremony, I believe, Hmong New Year, I believe. You tell us what it is, Army specialist there, because that's old Doochie Vu.
I wasn't sure who it was until you said Hmong, and then I was like, oh, that's Vu.
That's our boy.
Yep.
I'm happy that you got to get up there for that, though. That's pretty awesome. All right, man. Let's get kicked into to the rest of the show, because we only got a couple hours till game time kicks off.
That's right.
So we got to.
And people are always clamoring, hey, are you guys done with your bets? Are you done with your bets? We're gonna try to get this one done a little early. That way, you guys can place your bets before things start. But before we dive into football, we're going to talk about baseball a little bit. We already got NBA out of the way. Baseball, things are starting to heat up already on the trade market. Your Twins go out and they acquire Farmer from the Reds. You guys need another shortstop because Carlos Correa opts out of his contract. Are you good with him opting out? I don't think he wanted to be there all that much. I think he was kind of chasing the money. And then when the season turned down, it didn't seem like it was a good relationship.
I mean, it didn't seem necessarily super negative between the two sides. It just seems like Correa's at that point where he's looking for whoever's going to pay him the most money, which, to an extent, I understand that. It's a business, it's a sport. So go out there and get your money. We paid him plenty to come play for us, and it wasn't necessarily as good of results. I don't think the return on investment was that good. And there had been talks previous to this that the Twins were ready to offer him just a huge deal. And I was like, God, that's just not our style.
Yeah.
So I don't think we'll do it. But also, I just don't want to do that because I don't think it's worth it. Correa is a great player, but I didn't think that he made that sort of an impactful boost to our team. So I was not on board for that. So us going out there getting Kyle Farmer from Cincy, sending some minor league talent their way, it's perfectly fine with me at this point because then it kind of seals the deal on the rest of that Correa talk. So we can move on from that.
All right. So elsewhere in baseball, your AL MVP, I think this was a foregone conclusion. Aaron Judge had a monster fucking year. He deserves it. He is also opted out. He is going into free agency. There's a chance that he resigns with New York. There's a chance that he signs with the other New York team. There's going to be a lot of suitors for Aaron Judge. It's going to be, can we pay this man the money that he deserves? I would like to see him in a fun ballpark, not necessarily one of those stacked teams. Like, I would like to see him somewhere where it's just like a short porch, kind of like he had in New York. That way he can just keep hitting massive amounts of fucking home runs. But we'll see what happens with that. Elsewhere, Paul Goldschmidt gets his first MVP. And this is a guy we didn't talk about hardly at all throughout the season. He was fantastic all fucking year, though. He absolutely deserves it. Baseball is going to get crazy over the next couple of weeks. We got Cody Bellinger not receiving a tender, so he's going to go to be a free agent. That's a guy that I would not necessarily hate having in Cleveland. I'd like to see his batting average come up a little bit, but he's a guy that can go out and hit quite a few home runs, left-handed power bat. I would take that on this Guardians team. So baseball is going to be intense over the next couple of weeks. We'll keep you guys up to date with any kind of moves that are going on there. You got anything else baseball-wise before we slide over into the wild day of college football yesterday?
No, man, I'm good to move.
All right. So college football is this is a year that we don't typically see. A lot of times we have one or two really, really dominant teams. And yesterday kind of showed everybody. I don't know if anybody's super dominant like Georgia was the year prior. Georgia, number one team in the country, kind of struggled against the Kentucky team. Kentucky was very game early in the season. Right now they've kind of fallen off. But Georgia only gets a win 16-6. And we expect more out of that offense, I think, out of Georgia. They have been very good recently. That defense puts them in really good positions as well. But they did not have an easy game against Kentucky. Same thing with Ohio State. They ended up getting a win 43-30, but that game was much closer than the final score. Maryland had the ball with a chance to win the game going at the end. Now, it was not a big chance because they had no timeouts, very little time left on the clock. Ohio State recovers a fumble for a touchdown there at the very end, making it 43-30. But they were not dominant in this game. And that's a big storyline going into next week because next week they are playing number 3 Michigan, who also fucking struggled against a very good Illinois team. Takes a last-second field goal to get them over the hump. And conditions were not great. Their kicker was the star of that game. He makes, 4 or 5 field goals to end up winning that game for them. And it was absolutely needed. So
it's 4.
That's 4.
That's followed up by a game with TCU and Baylor, number 4 TCU, where TCU just barely ekes it out 29-28.
They almost screwed up running the kicker on, from what I saw. Like they run a play to get into the middle of the field, and then there were some guys kind of walking around, not understanding the urgency. Hey, we're in a fucking fire drill. Let's go. Let's start fucking moving and let's get out there.
And then you have number 5 Tennessee, the Vols, who ended up falling to the Gamecocks 38-63. And I'm wondering, Mike, do you think that we're at this time of year where it's just before the college football playoff and you have these top 4 teams that are kind of thinking, okay, we're kind of where we're at, which I don't think they should all feel safe, but do you think that they're kind of taking that little bit of a rest break or something like that, thinking like, okay, we can almost coast in against some of these teams?
I feel like teams are looking ahead to next week because next week is going to be huge matchups for these teams. I know Ohio State typically struggles the week before Michigan. It's happened several times. I think that we get a little bit. We're right there. We're about to get into the playoff, and then, hey, we're worried about next week more than we're worried about right now. And we're playing some really good fucking teams. Yeah, the Browns are gonna get smashed. We'll get to that. Don't worry. Yeah, so I think there is a little bit of looking ahead. We're going to see some shakeups, though. Tennessee's obviously going to be done. TCU was on the fringe already at number 4. There's a chance that LSU can maybe creep up in there. That's tough because TCU is an undefeated team. We're down to very few undefeated teams left. I believe there's only 4 in the country, and that's being those top 4 teams. So we could see a shakeup. I think the top 4 will remain the same, but one loss, one slip up, and I think people are in trouble. That game against Michigan next week for Ohio State that's a playoff spot. That's exactly what you're playing for. I think even if whoever wins that game is in the playoff, regardless if they lose the Big Ten championship game or not.
Yeah.
A 2 versus 3 matchup is a huge matchup, and it's going to go big brownie points when it comes to the committee.
Yeah, it was definitely it was a week that I think people didn't expect to matter as much as far as the standings, but realistically, the way these teams played, it just wasn't a great week for a lot of those top end teams playing teams that they should have kind of blown out, or at least, put up much larger point spreads on, and they just weren't able to do it. So that's honestly, I thought that Ohio State game was because you guys were losing.
Yeah, we were. Yeah, it was tough.
There's upset alerts going off on my phone, and then that TCU game just so close. Georgia kind of felt like they were going to win the whole time.
Right.
They were able to maintain that lead the whole game until the fourth quarter was when Kentucky was able to put up points. It was also a big game for watching guys like Will Levis and stuff like that with Kentucky, who's being touted as a potential first round pick here.
I've seen him as the
third round or third pick overall.
Third pick overall, number 3 quarterback off the board is what I have seen for Will Levis.
Yeah.
And speaking about quarterbacks, I really hope that Hendon Hooker is not severely hurt. I have not seen any updates yet, but he goes down with a non-contact injury. Those are always really fucking bad. I hope it's not bad this time. I hope his foot just slipped out and that kid can bounce back. He looks like a pro prospect. He's going to be a pretty goddamn good pro, in my opinion.
Yeah, he'll be an interesting prospect. He'll be an interesting one because he really has only had this year where he's in that Heisman talk, really showing out. He's 24 already. And that is tough. That is spelling not disaster, but that is always looked at as an issue when you're coming out as a quarterback, especially in the NFL draft. Because by the time that he's on the field playing, he's going to be 25. And that's as a rookie if he were to come out and play. Usually rookies need a year or 2. And then you're looking at 25, 26. And that's compared to the guys that are coming in the league at 21, 22, where you're getting those developmental years and stuff like that. That really sets him behind as far as his career length, and teams are going to pay attention to that when it comes to a first round pick. You're talking, I think, a guy that has potential first round talent, especially in the right system, being dropped down to a high second round pick, maybe something like that, just because you're not getting the same career out of him if he does become one of those starting NFL caliber quarterbacks. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. Obviously watching to see what happens from this injury. But in that game too, the Gamecocks, you had old Spencer Rattler out there now who
looked like he knew how to play football again.
He actually looked pretty good in that game. 30-37, 438 yards, 6 touchdowns. He had himself a pretty damn good game against a good Vols team.
Yeah, and this is a guy that we had talked about last year. Like, he could really elevate himself, and then things obviously did not go that way at all. The whole collapse with Oklahoma and people leaving, and he lost his job. And then he goes out to South Carolina. He's been kind of meh this year so far, but this was a big game. I mean, this is a big nationally televised game with number 4 Tennessee, and he was able to put it on him. So that's a great way to help raise that stock. I still think he needs some more time. I don't know that Spencer Rattler is a guy that I'm interested in playing for my team in the NFL at this point. I think he still needs quite a bit more grooming, but it's a big game. That's something that he absolutely needs to help raise that stock going forward. I think he stays one more year. He gets South Carolina in a position to compete for, I think they're SEC West. If he can compete for an SEC West championship, I think that helps him. I don't know that South Carolina will ever compete for an SEC title, but if he can at least get that team in the conversation to represent, one half the conference in the championship game, that goes a long fucking way, being that he's at South Carolina. So,
yeah. All right.
Anything else college football wise you want to talk about?
Other than University
there
of Virginia,
were good games.
The only thing that I want to mention is it was what happened with the University of Virginia. And I don't have all the details on it, and because I kind of just don't like to look at it. But 3 players were shot and killed by a former player over the past week. Really, really terrible what happened out there. And thoughts and prayers go out to the team, the families, everyone involved. This is fucking terrible. I know that you're going to be seeing some support, I believe, from the Washington Commanders and stuff like that today.
They got some helmet stickers on there.
Yeah, so pretty terrible. Don't want to skip over that, even though it's a tough thing to talk about.
Right.
Pretty terrible situation.
Yeah, anytime that there is a loss of life, especially young life, it's incredibly tragic. My heart goes out to that team, the families of the players. It's an awful situation. Like there's no other way to say it. It's terrible. And I hope that those people can, find a way to celebrate the lives of those players, those kids, and hopefully move on and honor their memory. So,
all right. With that, you ready to go to the NFL?
I am ready to go into the NFL. Do you want to go? Any storylines you want to hit before we start diving into games?
No, not really. I mean, we'll kick into stuff as we go through the stuff week to week. So,
okay. All right. So let's start off with a recap of Thursday Night Football, a game that I know that you were watching, a game that I also watched. I went to bed a little early, but I didn't feel the need to stay up because the game was pretty well in hand after halftime. The Packers cannot do anything on offense, man. They're really bad on offense. Derrick Henry got his 800 touches and was able to finally get something going.
He got something going in the passing game, both as a receiver and a passer.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very, very good football player. It takes him a long time to get going. I don't know. You were watching the game. He is better as the game goes on. He's not a guy that's going to hit you right off the rip. And if he does, you're in for a long fucking day, because the longer that game goes on, the more touches that Derrick Henry gets. He absolutely just wears out a defense. He is a massive human being. He's a refrigerator with legs that runs a goddamn 4.4. It's insane to me, but he absolutely balled out. All right. I was starting to get some static. I don't know if you heard it as well.
No.
But okay, so yeah, it's a game that I kind of expected. I was very surprised at what the line was when we were making these picks Thursday afternoon that we put out on social. The Packers were favored in this game by 3 fucking points.
Yeah,
I didn't understand it at all. I think
the people in Vegas are on drugs or something right now, because there's some lines this week that just don't really make sense. This is
some other ones.
This is maybe a lack of recency bias, unless you're looking at short-term history bias, where when it comes into these November, December months in Lambeau, everyone just assumes the Packers are going to win every one of these games. Right. And then,
100%.
You have a Packers team that is just not fucking good anymore. Yeah. So it doesn't really matter.
We're just calling a spade. Aaron is not playing well. The offense has no rhythm whatsoever. They don't understand their roles inside the offense. Now, Aaron made a great play, and Christian Watkins made a great play, and we're able to catch him off guard and get a touchdown. Outside of that, there was nothing spectacular about this Packers offense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's the line's not good. The receiving, honestly, when they started going through the receivers for this game, I was like, okay, he's actually got a bunch of 2s and 3s out there. Maybe he can do something with this. And he still wasn't. Aaron Rodgers even as a big time Packers hater, of course I'm going to talk shit on Aaron Rodgers. He just did not look good. He has not looked good this year. You watch, he is inaccurate. He is not throwing guys open. His accuracy and decision making is just not great. And I like it, but it's got to be frustrating as a Packers fan to watch him go out there and throw his little hissy fits constantly.
For $50 million a year.
You're a big part of the problem, Aaron. And you don't want to blame anyone.
But he'll blame everybody but himself.
Yeah, exactly. It's not his fault ever.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
so
insane to me that the game
fans are out there booing you coming off the field, it is interesting. It is interesting. I know he said that in his post-game presser. It's interesting. It is fucking interesting. Maybe he needs to do a little ayahuasca and introspection into that. Because look, the defense is getting ate up. The offensive line sucks. They don't have good receivers. They got good backs, but they're not utilizing them
had
correctly.
their bye week yet?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, so they really need a bye week. They need some fucking self-scout to understand who and what they are, because they don't know what they are at this point. And I think Aaron is going to have to take a hard look at the tape as well and do a little self-scout. That he has not been great. It has not been his year. He's coming off back-to-back MVPs, but he is not playing anywhere near that level right now. And this was a fucking layup when I saw the line and we were making our picks. You took the Titans with the points. I was all in. Titans were going to win this motherfucker. I didn't need the points. There was no doubt in my mind that they were going to win. I don't care about Lambeau in December. In past years, has it been important? 100%. It absolutely has. Going up to Lambeau at this time of year is terrible. But if you just look at the way this team has performed week after week, the wins that they do have are not impressive in any fashion. The Titans are starting to kind of hit their stride. Derrick Henry starting to get going. And that was always going to be the difference for me, is Derrick Henry is finally starting to get going, because he started out the year very, very slow. Derrick started super slow to start the year, but he has been fantastic in recent weeks. Packers are not great on defense either. Something that they were touting in the beginning of the year in preseason, this defense was going to be spectacular. And they fucking haven't been spectacular in any facet so far.
And that, look, I don't think Tannehill is that great of a quarterback. I think he is a league average quarterback. And it goes to show you, he was able to go into Lambeau against this defense that, again, was highly touted at the beginning of the year as a top 5 defense. He was able to go 22 of 27, 333 yards, 2 touchdowns. Traylon Burks had himself a day, 7 receptions, 111 yards. I know one of those was pretty big on a deep throw at the end of the game, but still, this is a running team. Obviously, by the way Derrick Henry performed, it's a running team. They go out there and wear teams down. But when you have a Tannehill, who I think is, again, like a league average quarterback, and he's able to go there into Lambeau and put over 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, and have that sort of a day, it just kind of goes to show where this Packers team is sitting. It's not a good situation up there. I salivate every time one of these games comes on, because it's like liquid Viagra for me. It's gets me fucking going. I love it.
6 to midnight watching Aaron fucking fall flat on his face.
It's got to be rough to be a Packers fan right now. That sucks. But
sorry, you almost made me spit that drink out.
Yeah, that sucks. You've enjoyed MVP quality quarterback play for the last 30 years.
30 years. 30 years.
You're a little bit pampered and still only have 2 championships out of that. But either way, so looking at the rest of this week, getting into betting lines about an hour and a half before the games start here. We have 4 teams on bye this week. You have the Dolphins, Seahawks, Buccaneers, and Jaguars all on bye. And I just want to say this is, week 11 of the NFL, and it's a very interesting playoff picture that we have going right now. Actually, the Vikings, I believe, if the Packers lose their next 2 games and the Vikings win their next 2 games,
you guys are clinched, right?
We are clinched in the playoffs already in the NFC North, which is the closest race in the NFL, I believe, or closest division to actually having a locked team for the playoffs already. But some interesting stuff here. So the AFC playoff picture right now has Kansas City, Miami, Tennessee, the Ravens, Jets, Bills, and Patriots all in the playoffs as of right now. And notables outside of the playoffs, that is your Chargers, your Bengals. Colts were fully expected to be there in the playoffs. And I think that your Brownies were looked at as a team that had a potential to backdoor their way.
We were a sleeper waiting for 11 weeks to be over, and then we'll get our franchise quarterback in, and then maybe we could make a run. That's not fucking happening.
Well, I mean, you guys, like I said, you're in the 11th spot right now at 3-6, but that 7th seed is 5-4. The Chargers are 5-4. Bengals are 5-4. So it is still an outside shot. There's opportunity, but it's an outside shot.
Well, this week's not going to fucking help us any.
Then we're going on to the NFC. It's interesting how many good teams that were expected to be pretty much locked for the playoffs are not
and
in
they're
there.
not.
For the NFC, you have the Eagles, the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Bucks, Giants, Cowboys, and 49ers all in there in the playoffs as of right now. But again, that seventh seed, the 49ers, they're 5-4. You have the Commanders who are 5-5 now, the Falcons who are 4-6, Cardinals are 4-6, Packers are technically 4-7. They're not that far outside of a wild card slot. And the Lions and the Rams are 3-6. It's such a weird year for these records. So many teams are kind of middling, if you will, really hovering around a 500 record. It is still a very open playoff picture for the entire league. Really, you have these teams that really are cream of the crop, rising to the top in the Eagles, the Vikings, and then Kansas City and Miami. But I mean, when the Bills are third in their division,
yeah, they're massive surprise.
Wild. Yeah. So it is a very interesting playoff picture. We're going to see a lot of movement here in the next six weeks or so.
So before we move on, so with that in mind, right, that there's been quite a bit of parity in the NFL and the way things are going. I'm going to pop it up. Your boys are still fucking rolling. And I feel very good about this. We have seen a ton of parity in the NFL this year. Like you just talked about it. There are teams that we expected to be really goddamn good and fight for playoff spots or basically be locks for playoff spots. And they're not, but we are still riding high right now. Last week I go 9-5. You go 8-6. You are 22 games over 500. I am, was that fucking 14 games? Yeah, 14 games over 500. And we're off to a good start this week with Titans money line for me and Titans +3 for you. So we're still rolling. Last week was a little bit of a downturn, but
I feel like I've been making ballsier picks here lately because I've been so far ahead just to kind of get things, a little bit spicier. I'll probably end up taking a little bit more of a laid back approach this week probably, but I just want to continue maintaining this good win streak that we got going here as far as, getting above that 500 mark. Because again, professional bettors, they're about 55% hit 55%. Rate and we are above that. So, want to keep that going, keep the good vibes going for those who are going to be betting on these games.
Yeah. Speaking of, I actually had one of my buddies, Garrett G Balls, the guy whose house I was at in Texas when we did our very, very first live show. He is not going to be able to place any bets today because of work. So he's asking me to funnel a bet, which I will then funnel to you. So we'll cross 3 state lines and we'll try to make a bet happen.
All righty.
So, but yeah, we're off to a good start this week. Last week was good. We are on a roll. Guys, if you're not listening to us for your bets, I would recommend that you start doing so. Listen, 4 weeks ago, we were in full on fade Mike season. All right. I was right there with you. I was thinking about fading my own fucking picks. Hey, but I'm on a heater now. You're either hot or you're due. Well, I was due and now I'm fucking hot. So let's keep this shit rolling. We got 1 game down already. Let's start getting into some of these other games. And let's get the people paid.
All right.
I'm ready, bro. And I have weather reports pulled up for these outdoor games.
This is the time of year that it really starts to matter. All right, so it's not going to matter so much for this game, but first game that we're going to talk about is the Bears and the Falcons being played in Atlanta. The line is Atlanta -2.5, over under of 48.5. This is an interesting one because Atlanta loves to cover spreads this year, but the Bears are kind of getting hot right now.
They are
not hot in their win-loss record, but you're having Justin Fields starting to show up.
Looks like he is a player now. He is one of the leading rushers in the NFL. He has the most rushing yards of any quarterback. That's not typically something that I would expect to say. I would say that's probably going to be Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen. Justin Fields is starting to use his legs a lot more, which something that we talked about in the past that he needs to do. They need to stop getting him in these 5 to 7 step drops and actually allow him to use his legs a little bit more, get him out on the edge, play action. We have started to see a little bit more of that. I don't know if Claypool is going to play a big factor, but we are starting to see an uptick. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
but we're starting to see an uptick in Justin Fields' play with not really too many additional options. They have Claypool, but he has not really been used. So
Yeah.
I'm starting to be like, I'm starting to get on this Justin Fields train. If you're a fantasy guy, and for some
He's
reason
been great
Justin
for
Fields
fantasy.
is some reason Justin Fields is still available, go pick him up if you need a quarterback. Like if your quarterbacks are kind of middling, Justin Fields right now is an absolute superstar in fantasy football. So there's an
He's
option
a league
there.
winner type of quarterback for you if you're able to get him off the waiver wire. So Chicago, as you said, with their rushing, they've had 230 or more rushing yards as a team in 5 straight games, and that's the longest streak since 1940 in the NFL. So that sort of a rushing attack is something that even, we're in a passing league right now, but it wasn't a passing league 30 years ago necessarily. And this
I
is
actually
back to
have a retort to that
1940.
when you're done
Okay.
about the rushing or the passing league.
Right. Atlanta, they've allowed 232 rushing yards, or they allowed 232 rushing yards last week against Carolina, a team with, Donta Foreman. So that's not necessarily considered one of your top tier backs. Carolina's not considered a top tier team. Yet they were still able to put up, a hefty amount of rushing yards against Atlanta. So Atlanta has definitely got a defense that's porous towards the rush. Going back to Justin Fields, he has the most rushing yards by a quarterback in a 2-game span ever with 325 yards. So this is, you have Khalil Herbert going to the IR for the Bears this week, which is going to limit them a little bit more in the rushing game. But realistically, I think that this game, if the Falcons were to drop it, we're going to be primetime Desmond Ridder watch to see if he goes in, because Mariota he's been struggling these past couple games. So I think Des Ridder is going to be going in as a starter here within the next 3 games. It could be after this week or even in this game if we start to see another sinker from Mariota.
Yeah. So the thing I wanted to talk about, if you guys have watched the show for a long time, you know that I am all in on Mina Kimes. She is absolutely brilliant. She's probably the smartest football person that you can find on TV anywhere. I don't care that she's a woman. She is incredibly in tune with what is happening in the league, and particularly the analytics. So we talked about the league being a passing league. It's kind of actually transitioning a little bit away from that. We have seen a reemergence of the running game, specifically this year. Teams are running for more than they have in quite some time, but it's the reason why they're being successful. So the outside and inside zone schemes are down across the league on yards per rush, right? Your team runs an inside zone scheme. My team runs outside zone. We have some good backs, right? But on runs that are gap or power schemes, they are absolutely dominant right now. They're getting almost 5 yards a carry on those types of runs. Do you know what kind of scheme the Bears run? They run a gap scheme against the Atlanta Falcons defense that's not very good at stopping the run. I really like the Bears in this game because of the kind of scheme that they're running. I expect them to be able to run the ball basically at will, and especially with Justin Fields catching on and starting to use his legs more. I'm on the Bears this week in an upset. I don't know if it's that big of an upset that we would say like really hammer them, but they are dogs, 2.5 point dogs in this game. But I like where that team is trending. The fact that Mina has put out some really good information about the types of schemes that are really working. I'm going Bears. I will take the points. I'm going to go Bears plus 2.5, but I think it's really interesting that we're starting to see these gap and power schemes really be successful in the NFL, because for so long, everybody was transitioning away from these space eater D tackles. They want guys who can generate pass rush. They're looking for linebackers who are sideline to sideline, not thumpers in the middle who will stop the run. That's why the gap scheme and the power scheme have been so successful. Give me the Bears plus the 2.5 points this week.
So I don't feel good about either of these teams, to be completely honest. Yes, the Bears have looked a lot better, but both teams are set up to run the ball very well. You have the Falcons who have Cordero Patterson back out there. I'm leaning towards the Falcons just because it's a home game for them, and they love to cover spreads this year. I'm not even going to go with that. I'm just going to go Atlanta money line. I think that this game will be closer. I think that it could be within that 2.5 points right now that Vegas has for Atlanta. So I think Atlanta will pull out the win. I mean, last week you saw the Bears looked like they were going to win that game. They still ended up losing to the Lions, but it's a divisional game. Those games usually are played pretty damn close. That's a theme that we keep on kind of pushing here is divisional games end up playing relatively close. This is not a divisional game, but I do think that these teams have the same strengths as each other. They are not strong passing teams. They are good running teams. And I'm just going to kind of edge out the Falcons here as the winners because they're the home team. I'll go ahead and take the Falcons money line.
All right.
All right, next up, we have the Eagles and the Colts being played in Indianapolis. The Colts team, who has Jeff Saturday out there, who has a 100% win rate as a head coach. Pretty interesting. Cool to see guys like McAfee and stuff come out there and support him. He really went at your boy Joe Thomas. For his comments.
So I kind of agree with Joe Thomas that I think it is disrespectful. However, after listening to some former players talk, it makes sense why this can be a good thing. Now we're getting former players, guys that have been in the locker room, an opportunity. Now, maybe we'll start to see some other former players who are already on staffs kind of be elevated and move up into that position. I think that would be great because a large portion of the players that are on staffs are African-American. We can start seeing some more African-American head coaches. I still think the entire process was a little disrespectful to the entire process of hiring coaches, but there is a potential to lead to a bigger growing. I think that we'll go with that bigger growing of more former players being coaches who actually want to be in that position. But that's not
something that was brought up when they were talking to Jeff Saturday. He's like, I've seen this in other leagues like the NBA and stuff. You have a whole bunch of former players that don't really have experience. They're coming in and coaching the team, and I do respect and understand, and I actually kind of like the thought process of the head coach of your football team doesn't have to be an offensive guy, doesn't have to be a defensive guy. They just have to be a leader of men, and they have to have good people underneath them that they can let those guys do their thing. And so I do like that aspect of it. I would rather have someone who has more experience being a leader of men. Not that Jeff Saturday can't be that. It's just we don't have any sort of history. And when you're talking about a professional football team, that is a big fucking job. Jeff Saturday is absolutely the type of guy that I think can do that. I still think that it is very brash of a professional football team to go out and do this and hire him as a coach. But either way, it worked out for him last week. That might have more to do with the fact that they were playing the Raiders than anything.
Yeah, 100%. They blew another massive lead.
But either way, so we have this Colts-Eagles game. The Eagles, who are tied for the best record in the NFL. I love being able to say that now.
God, they dropped a game.
They dropped a game
that we both called.
Yeah, it said that this was the game last week versus those commies. And I was like, hey, I think the commies are better than people are giving them credit for. And this is a good divisional game. So keep an eye on it. And the commies went out there and got that win. I was super stoked about that. But you have Philly -6.5 and over under 45 being played in the Colts home. Philly goes out this week. They signed my former nose tackle, Linval Joseph, to shore up that run game. They go out and sign Ndamukong Suh to shore up that run game. This was the Eagles' weakness that we kind of talked about last week, is that everyone's touting them as the best team potentially in the NFL, and that they don't really have much of a weakness. The weakness was
they had a massive weakness, and
the weakness was the run game.
We started to see get exposed a little bit.
And that's where the commies came in and made it happen. And so, of course, the Eagles are like, okay, yep, this is our weakness. And they go out and they sign a whole bunch of D-line depth, which good on them. It makes them even a scarier team now, to be completely honest. So, though the Eagles have had several games this year that have been closer than I would have expected them to be. So, I don't expect the Eagles to drop another one here. I think that this Colts team, I mean, they've gone back to Matt Ryan. I think that will increase their yardage on offense for sure, because we saw that through most of the year. Matt Ryan was able to go out there and get them a lot of yards. There was a lot of turnovers too, and not a ton of points being scored. And this Colts defense is kind of shaky as well. I expect the Eagles to win this game. Right now, it's got them laying 6.5. I just don't know what this Saturday coached Colts team is completely going to look like. I don't know what we're going to see out of that new offensive coordinator there for the Colts yet, because last week was just such a anomaly, being able to play the Raiders as your first game. So I'm going to go and take Philly money line. I absolutely think Philly will win this game, but until we get a read on what this new Colts team kind of looks like, I don't know that they can, if they will lay that 6.5 points to the Eagles will, or if it'll be closer than it should be. It would be disastrous if the Eagles end up losing this one.
Yeah.
For that team. But I'm just going to go into the Eagles money line, safe bet on this one.
So I'm going Eagles money line as well. 6.5 is quite a bit. The Colts aren't very good, but they do have one of the better running backs in the league. And I know that the Eagles just went out and signed 2 D tackles to help shore up that run defense. I don't know how much they'll be playing in this game, though, because they are midweek ads. I would be surprised if we see them too much at all. If anything, it'll be at a rotational basis. So I think there is a potential to still run on this team, at least for this week. And I think the Colts can keep it closer than the 6.5. So I'm going to ride with the Eagles money line as well. I do not expect them to lose this game. They're going to want to bounce back. They got worked last week by the Commanders. They're going to need to get a real big bounce back win this week. And then we'll see how much those guys make an impact. I don't know that we'll see Linval or Ndamukong Suh too much this week.
If they go out there, it's going to be very traditional schemes for them on the defensive line, because
it'll be base
the
calls.
Line
we won't see any twists. We won't see any games up front with those guys
and stuff like that. Yeah, you're not going to be seeing a whole bunch. I mean, with Ndamukong, if he goes out there specifically for pass plays, maybe he's out there specific for a couple stunts or something like that. But Linval, he's a nose tackle. He's never been like a big time pass rush guy because he is fucking huge. He's there to kind of shore up that D line with Jordan Davis, being hurt. I do kind of agree with you that we're not going to see a ton from them yet. But then again, you have guys like TJ Hawkinson for me, who goes out there and performs real well his first week. So I think that they are just shoring up that line so that way it isn't porous, but they're not going to get like Excel sort of production from these guys. It's just going to be, hey, make sure we're maintaining an average here.
Yeah, we didn't just sign Linval Joseph off the street and Ndamukong Suh off the street to come in and start at our 1 and our 3 techniques. That's not what just happened. They're adding these guys to help build a rotation of defensive linemen to help shore up the run game. It's not like they're going to have this massive immediate impact.
Right. Some quick notes for this game, which I almost forgot to put out here. So home underdogs this year of 7 or more points are 6-0 against the spread. This game originally was more than 7 points for the Eagles until the signings, or not until the signings of those guys. For whatever reason, the line has dropped. The Phillies lost some points there. So it's something to kind of watch, is that originally the Colts kind of were favored by this stat to at least beat the spread there. Also, Matt Ryan has 4 game-winning drives this season, which is 3rd in the NFL, despite not playing the past couple games. So Matt Ryan, he still is a true competitor. He's a vet. He knows how to go out there and win some games. So I don't expect it to be close enough for Ryan to go out there and get a game-winning drive, but it's still something to watch. I mean, that'll be a narrative to watch.
Line struggles, and it's a really good Eagles pass rush.
Yeah, it'll be a narrative to watch in future weeks if they are able to keep this pretty damn close. But I really don't expect that to be happening at this point.
Yeah.
All right. So next game, we have the Jets and the Patriots playing in Foxborough. Looks like it's going to be a cold one up there, about 40 degrees or so. The line is New England -3.5, over under of 38, a really low scoring game, or expect to be a low scoring game for this one.
Yeah. So I've seen some people say this is a revenge game almost. For our boy, the mom fucker, but I don't understand why we're calling this a revenge game already. Just because he looked bad, really, really bad in the last game.
He hasn't looked bad in the
Well,
last
the last
game.
time they played the Patriots. The last
It's-
time he played the
it's-
Patriots.
It's
That's the
been,
only reason you call this a revenge game, right?
it's been that way every time versus the Patriots. So Zach Wilson versus the Patriots, he's 0-3 straight up and against the spread. They score on average 12 points per game with Zach Wilson at the helm against the Patriots. And Zach Wilson ends up having a 54% completion percentage. He's 2 touchdowns to 7 interceptions when he plays versus the Patriots. He's just bad against the Patriots. And
He is really bad.
Belichick is
not
good
going to
against
help.
rookie quarterbacks.
The weather's not going to help. So I've got the weather report pulled up here. It's going to be chilly, 37 degrees, down to 27 with the wind chill, because they're expecting winds 16 to 20 miles an hour and gusts up to 30 miles an hour. That is going to knock down the passing game, and it's going to depend on a lot of running game. I really like the Patriots running game over I like the Jets running game now that they don't have Breece Hall. That for me is a big linchpin in this game and why I like the Patriots more. I don't know that I like them more than a field goal, though, because the line right now is 3.5. That is tough for me. That hook makes me probably stay off of that. But I do like the Patriots on the money line here because the weather's not going to be great. They're going to depend on the run. We know Bill Belichick can scheme up a lot of runs. Ramondre Stevens is having a great year. He is, the guy I really wish that I had got out of that backfield group, but I'm still not on the Zach Wilson train. He didn't win their last game. They won because of their defense in the running game against the Bills. I don't know if they can do that every fucking week. I know that defense is starting to get really goddamn good under Salah, but I'm going to roll with the Patriots on the money line here and expect a heavy dose of, 2, 3, 4, possibly fucking every running back they got is going to get some touches in this game.
Yeah, that's honestly for the Jets. They have to hope that this stays as a running game. The problem is that they don't have the backs really to do it right now, because when under pressure, which the Patriots can bring pressure. Judon's having himself a great year for that Pats defense. When under pressure, Zach Wilson has a 21% completion percentage. He gets only 3 yards on average per attempt. His touchdown to interception ratio under pressure is 1 touchdown, 5 interceptions, and that's a 6.6 passer rating.
Feed me all those negative stats.
That is on
Zach
pace
Wilson
to be the worst passer rating in 5 seasons for a qualifying starting quarterback. So he hasn't been a great passer regardless, but under pressure, he is absolutely atrocious. And any sort of qualified NFL defense is going to know, okay, we just got to bring some pressure on him. Bill Belichick is going to be scheming up stuff on any sort of a pass play to get him under pressure, and it's going to be a nightmare for him unless Wilson is able to flip things around and just become the MILF hunter that we all know he is. Also, Patriots have won 13 straight games versus the Jets. The Patriots just have the Jets number. Even, at home earlier this year, the Jets weren't able to do it. And that was when they had Breece Hall, I believe. So to me, this game is easy. It's Patriots. It's Patriots money line because this is expected to be such a low scoring game with the cold and the wind and everything out there. Again, over under for that was 38. So I'm just going to be taking the Patriots money line because I don't expect a ton of points to be scored on this one. You will see a heavy Ramondre Stevenson game because he, like you said, is having a pretty damn good year.
Yeah. All right.
We have Joe Rockstar popping in. Vamos 49ers. I know that he is stoked right now.
There.
I know he's stoked with how they've been doing. All right.
I'm excited for that game, by the way. We got a game between 2 teams playing in a city that they've never played in. Oh, and there's also another game in Mexico City. So,
so next one up here, we have the Rams and the Saints being played in New Orleans. So this is going to be in a dome. We don't have to worry about the weather for that one. New Orleans is favored -2.5 over under a 39. So another relatively low scoring game, or expected to be a low scoring game.
Offenses are down across the league. And that's why we're starting to see the for unders. If you were betting unders early in the season, you took some money from Vegas for sure, because scoring across the board is down.
Yeah. So the Rams offense, this is the team that won the Super Bowl last year. Obviously, talk about this week in and week out, their offense is just atrocious. So they have been scoring on average 16.4 points per game and 282.7 yards per game. That is not something that you would expect to see from this sort of an offense with Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp and everything. But Cooper Kupp, he is now
Cam
out.
Akers, obviously
Out for the year.
Yeah.
More than likely, he's definitely going on IR. He just had ankle surgery for a high ankle sprain. I
Looking
believe it's
6 to 8 weeks, right?
tight rope surgery, I believe is what they called it. And yes, 6 to 8 weeks. With the point that we're at right now, unless
That's it.
somehow the Rams are able to make it to the playoffs, which they do not look like they're going to make it, there's no reason to bring him back out there. So I think that they're going to allow him to rehab this injury, come back healthy and fresh next year. The Saints, they are 1-4 straight up and against the spread in their past 5 games. So they've been doing not so good as well. And the Rams, they are getting 4.6 yards per play this season, which is the worst in the NFL. So that offense is atrocious for them. The Saints offense, not great either. The one thing that I'll say is that the Rams defense has not looked good. The Saints defense has looked all right. They've been doing a lot better. I think that they're going to be able to get a ton of pressure against this really porous Rams offensive line, make Matt Stafford's day pretty terrible. He's going to have to be thrown to Skoranek and Robinson, and he doesn't like to throw to Robinson apparently.
Yeah.
Their run game ain't good. Their pass game ain't good. Their O-line ain't good. That offense is terrible there for the Rams. The Saints, they've been able to string some stuff together on offense with Dalton back there, though I think there's been a little bit more rumblings of maybe we should be playing Jameis Winston a little bit because he's a little bit more boom or bust. So maybe we can get a little bit more out of him. The 2.5 points I think is safe for New Orleans because I don't expect the Rams to be able to put up much of a fight. I'm still just going to take New Orleans on the money line of this one, though. We're going with the safe one because both these teams' offenses are just not very good. And when you're expecting such a low-scoring game, it's tough to lose some points. So Saints money line for me, safe and easy.
Yeah, and I'm riding with the Saints money line as well. The Rams are a shell of the team that they were last year. They cannot do anything on offense. They have no running game. Their offense was Cooper Kupp, and Cooper Kupp is now out. You would think that if you're a fantasy owner, right, and you have Allen Robinson, this is Allen Robinson's time to shine, right? I don't fucking think that's going to be the case, though. I really don't. Like, I think Allen Robinson is kind of lost, or maybe in the doghouse with his coach or his quarterback, because he's a guy that I think is pretty goddamn talented and is not getting any opportunities. Maybe this is the Allen Robinson coming out party that we all expected at the beginning of the year to be a really good compliment to Cooper Kupp. I just don't know that that's going to be the case, man. Like, they just cannot get anything going on offense. So I cannot ride with the Rams. I took the Rams. I thought about taking the Rams again to repeat and go to the Super Bowl. I ended up on the Bucks. Neither one of those fucking picks look good right now. But the Saints have the ability to play really good defense. I expect Alvin Kamara to do some good things. And I'm going to kind of call my shot right now. This is a Chris Olave coming out party. Like, Chris Olave has been steady all year.
He's had some big games.
But he is now going to go against a premier cornerback, or what we still think is a premier cornerback in Jalen Ramsey. I don't know that after the eye test this year that Jalen is still a premier guy. But that name says that he's a premier cornerback, right? You say Jalen Ramsey, one of the best cornerbacks in the league. I'm a little off of that at this point. But around the league, I think that's still widely regarded as true. I expect Chris Olave to absolutely cook Jalen Ramsey in this game. One thing that Jalen Ramsey is really good at is jamming guys and, kind of bullying people. Chris Olave is so incredibly fluid with his releases and his route running that I think he is going to absolutely torch Jalen Ramsey and put him in a blender on multiple occasions today. This is the Chris Olave is a number one receiver coming out day, in my opinion. I got the Saints. I'm going to take the money line just because neither one of these teams are great, and I'm still depending on Andy Dalton to get Chris Olave the ball. But big day from Chris Olave, in my opinion. I'm kind of excited to see it because he's an Ohio State guy. I love all my Ohio State guys. I root for them when they get to the pros, even if they're, not playing for my Browns. But I'm excited for it, man. I think Chris Olave is going to have a fucking day today. If you guys do play daily fantasy football, maybe toss Chris Olave in your lineup today. I got him, 8 catches, 120 and a touchdown. Big day from Chris Olave.
You hear here. Play Chris Olave in your fantasy teams. All right. So real quick, completely not football related. It's just sad. The Green Power Ranger has died, everyone. Jason David Frank has died.
No.
Guy from my youth. My childhood is being torn apart. All right. Next game up, we got the Lions and the Giants playing in East Rutherford, New Jersey, not in Detroit, though we do have a Detroit game this week, which I didn't call on the show, but I actually called to some people at work. I said, you know what? I think the best place for a game to be played this week, if you can't play at your home, would be in Detroit, because that's a pretty common occurrence.
It's actually not that far away from me either, and I probably could have gotten very, very cheap tickets. However, it is also snowing here. It is snowing basically everywhere in the fucking Northeast.
Yeah.
And we got a couple inches already.
But
expected to get 6 inches
all that
tonight.
You need is it's a couple inches.
Expected to get 6 inches tonight.
Yeah.
That's what she said. And
lucky to get 4.5 from this guy, Thunder Thimble rocking. All right. So it is going to be a cold one up there again, being played up in Jersey, 38 degrees. The line is Giants -3, over under of 44.5. All right. So the Giants, they are tied for the best against the spread record so far this year in the league at 7-2. Detroit did get their first road win last week under Dan Campbell. Can they repeat?
No.
Also, you have Saquon Barkley, who this year is averaging 103.4 rushing yards per game, which is actually first in the NFL. So this is a team that does focus a lot on the run. The Giants don't have a ton of receiving options. Daniel Jones is actually having a better year despite that, and I think a lot of that has to do with that coaching up there. Big props to their new coaching staff. I like this Lions team, especially from the start of the year. They are just not performing very well, and usually that does point to coaching, and I hate to say it because I really like Dan Campbell and I really like that coaching staff up there. It's just not working out for them very well. Good big emotional win there last week, divisional versus the Bears.
Needed it.
Get that win. And I think that's something that Dan Campbell can definitely take home with him and get his guys fired up about. But you're going into another team's home territory here in the Giants, who are having a great year at 7-2, 4-1 at home. I do think that, with an over and under of 44.5, they're expecting this game to still put up a lot of points. And that's because the Lions offense does have the potential to put up a lot of
somehow
points.
They're really good on offense and not good on defense.
And the Giants do have that very strong run game, whether it is Saquon Barkley or Daniel Jones, because Daniel Jones is still out there running the ball. Great for a white boy. To me, I do think the Giants can cover this spread. I'm still only going to take the Giants money line just because it is so cold up there. I think the weather is going to play a factor. We're going to start seeing that good winter football, which is going to lean a lot more heavy on the run game, especially when you get into these colder climates. So money line Giants for me. I do expect them to win this game, and I do expect that they probably will end up covering that 3 points. I think it could be about a 4 or 5 point game. Unless the Lions are able to start putting up offense like they were in the beginning of the year.
All right, so some breaking news on the weather, because I'm the weatherman today. Highs are going to be in the low 30s, wind chill in the mid-20s, 13 to 17 mile an hour winds with gusts reaching 30, right? So it's a little gusty. It's not a great day. Daniel Jones is probably not going to sling it all around the yard. Neither is Jared Goff. The Lions have a pretty goddamn good running game. The Lions have a good running game. The Giants have a good running game. But even more than that, Saquon Barkley is having an absolute resurgent year he needed to have, because he had guys like you and me both saying that Saquon's not the guy anymore. Like, he's not a dude. Well, he kind of is right now, especially if we're going to talk about fantasy, right? He's the number 3 fantasy running back in football. He's averaging 25.2 touches a game and 125 total yards per game. That is spectacular performance. If you're talking about fantasy, that's going to be a massive factor in today's game. I think that they're going to have to run the ball. I think the weather will play a little bit of a factor. We'll see some errant balls due to the wind. So I'm going Giants on the money line as well. I think that Lions team is very game to keep a lot of things close. They have the random potential to pull out a game they probably should not win. I don't know that that's this game. I think the Giants are really starting to hit stride. 3 points is about exactly where I expect it to be. I could see this being a field goal game. So give me Saquon Barkley. kind of leading his team to a win. Money line, Giants. 3 is exactly where I expect this game to be. So I'm not going to bet on a push. I'm going to bet on a win, and I'm going Giants money line.
All right. Next up, we have the Panthers and the Ravens being played in Baltimore. Another cold one there. I'm seeing AccuWeather showing about 38 degrees. We'll get the weather update here from Mike. The line, though, is hot. Baltimore minus 13 over under a 41.
Whoa, that has fucking changed from the last thing that I saw. What?
I'll update my my browser here just to see. Okay, it's 12.5 now. I had 12.5, so a half point different, but still.
Last I saw, I thought it was fucking like 11.5.
We're talking a big line, and I think a part of this has to do with the fact that I believe Baker Mayfield is your starting quarterback again for the Panthers. We don't have a hot PJ Walker out there, all right? So Baltimore, they're the 9th team ever to have double-digit leads in all 9 of their games, and first 9 games in a season. Despite that, they tend to drop these leads. Carolina, they are 3-1 against the spread in their past 4 games. So since making that coaching change and quarterback change and running back change, they've actually had done a pretty good job of staying in a lot of these games that they aren't expected to be in. Lamar Jackson, he is 22-3 in his career versus a team with a losing record. And he is best among quarterbacks with 20 plus starts since 1970 in that fact. Baker starting at quarterback, like we brought up. I don't think that is a good thing for the Panthers.
I also agree. The last time that Baker Mayfield played against the Ravens, he threw 4 interceptions in a game that Lamar Jackson also threw 4 interceptions, and we should have won when he was a Brown. Baker Mayfield is not great against the Browns. You know why the Browns beat the Ravens in all the games that Baker was the starting quarterback? It was because of Nick Chubb. Baker is really fucking bad against the Ravens. 4, it might have been 5 fucking picks. I want to say I was on vacation watching the game, getting drunk, playing board games with the Coopers, and watched Baker just have an absolute fucking shit show of a day. It was not fun. I don't expect Baker to rebound in this game. The weather is going to play a massive fucking factor in this game. It's 38 degrees, right? Sustained winds of 16 to 20 miles an hour, gust 25 to 30. Baker, one of the things that he was highly touted for coming out of college was his accuracy. He has not been accurate over the last couple of years. Today is not going to help with that. They are not going to be able to sling the ball over the yard. DJ Moore is going to not be much of a factor in this game. They're going to have to depend on Deontay Foreman, a guy who was a backup starting the year, to try to generate a run and keep them in this game. I do not see that happening. I'm very close to taking the Ravens minus the points, but I won't do it because it is so many.
Safe play here is definitely Ravens money line. If anything, I would take the Panthers plus the points. But it's just so many points that I don't expect it to be good. I mean, for all we know, Baker Mayfield is concussed as fuck from slamming his head into other players.
What the hell was that, Baker? Come on, dude.
A little fucking weird. But yeah, this one for me, it's the safe play is that money line for the Ravens because I don't expect the Panthers. I don't expect them to keep it that close, but I'm not going to be dropping 12.5 points. We're not talking about the best team in the league versus the Houston Texans or something like that, you know? So it's one,
a lot of points on a crappy weather day. That 13 is too many. Yeah. Man. The Ravens are going to win. I'm not doing anything else. I'm playing it safe. This is a game I probably would not bet, and it doesn't really add anything to a parlay. If you want an easy dub, toss $20 on this game. Take the Ravens money line, but it's minus 800. There's a reason the odds are that way. This game is, in my opinion, almost a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Which I guess could be upset alert, I guess, if you're betting. But
I don't feel like there's any chance of an upset here.
I'm gonna put it this way: this is one of those games that I definitely don't care about watching this week because I don't.
No, I'm not watching it. I will not bet. I am making my pick for the show because we make our picks for every bet. If you want to add it, fucking Ravens is the right way to go. But I'm staying away from this because the only one that I'm super, super safe with is the Ravens money line. It's minus 800. It doesn't help your parlay at all.
All right. Next game up here, we have the Commies and the Texans being played in Texas. The weather's going to be perfectly fine inside of that dome. The line is Washington -3 over under a 41. And this one was kind of one of those bets that was a little bit fishy to me. Why is Washington only losing 3 points?
Yeah, they should.
The worst team in the league. Commanders, yes, they just come off a big time emotional game beating the Eagles, but they're better than a 3-point favorite to me in this, especially with Heineke, who is going to stay the starter up there in Washington.
God, right? I was going to ask you about it because that's 100% the right move, right? We're not bringing Carson Wentz back into the fold here. This is Heineke's team until we find our franchise guy, which I don't know if they will.
100% the right move. Heineke is the fucking way for that team right now. Carson Wentz doesn't need to be doing anything other than wearing one
holding
of those
the fucking clipboard and telling Heineke that, hey, you're better than me.
Now, I will say this: Heineke kind of pissed me off, and that Commanders team kind of pissed me off after their win. They're trying to do the Kirk Thuggins look, and now the Vikings have come out and basically said, "Hey, we're not going to do that anymore.
We're not doing it anymore because you guys fucking ruined it. Get your own shit."
Yeah, so we'll have something else planned for the future. But I guess isn't it like the greatest way to
the sincerest form of flattery is imitation.
There you go. So
look at me, I'm a college student. I remember the saying.
Yeah. So I don't get how Washington -3 here makes sense. They're actually part of my parlay, my round robins that I got going this weekend is Washington minus the points on this one, and I'm going to stick with it for the show. I absolutely expect them to win by 3 points. I expect them to win by more, closer to 7, if not more than that, honestly, because this Texans team is not good. The one thing the Texans do well is run the ball. Dameon Pierce is one of the fiercest runners in the game. He is the guy that is going to be ramming it down your throats in this league right now. He's that hard style running back, which is great. But if you got nothing else on your team, the running game usually ain't going to put up a ton of points for you consistently, especially when you need them when you're down. And they're going to be down plenty in this game versus Washington. So Washington -3 for me all day.
And I'm following suit, man. Washington -3. This line's not big enough. This is a slam dunk for me. The Texans aren't great. I don't know why people are not quite on this Washington Heineke train. Look, I get it. I get it. He's not like your prototypical fucking dude that you're like, oh yeah, our franchise is good. Heineke is a fucking baller. He is a gamer. He shows up when things have to fucking happen. He did it last week. We've talked about him so many times this year. I love this kid. If he does not continue to find a starting job, he is a backup in this league for a very long time. He has a career trajectory of Fitzmagic. Yeah. He is going to be around forever.
The only reason why I can understand why this spread is so close is that Vegas would be thinking this is a hangover game and the Commies are technically operating on a short week. That's about it. But I'm not willing to put that up when you're playing the Texans, man. Like a hangover game makes a difference, but not that much of a difference when you're playing the Texans. All right, Heineke, he is 3-1 straight up, and 3-0-1 against the spread this year as a starter. And in his last 12 games, he's 9-2-1 against the spread as a starter. So he's been showing that he can definitely go out there and lead his team effectively. On the flip side, you have Davis Mills. He's 3-16-1 as a straight up as a starter. Just not a great record for Mills. So, yeah, I fully expect this to be an easy game for the Texans, and I sure fucking hope it is because, again, they're part of my round robins, part of my parlays that I got going this week. All right, so next game. We have the Raiders and the Broncos getting into our afternoon slate of games being played in Denver, Colorado.
I hate
49 points.
Game.
49 points.
49 is entirely too many fucking points.
41. Excuse me. It's 2.5 point spread for. It's 49 degrees.
Okay.
I like 49 degrees according to AccuWeather in Denver. The line is Denver -2.5 over under a 41.5.
Okay. Well, that's still probably too much. The Denver Broncos stink, and so do the fucking Raiders. The Broncos, and I saw this on several places. If the Broncos had scored 18 points a game, they'd be 8-1. And they have not been able to do that. And their boy, Drew Lock, last year with the Broncos averaged 20 points a game.
Yeah.
They are in a bad way right now. Now they bounce back. They get a win. Fucking Russ is cooking eggs in a microwave. Like I don't know how to go with this game because here's the thing. The Broncos fucking stink. They're not good. But somehow, with the plethora of talent, the Raiders are worse. And it's not really that close that they're worse. They are
two teams
drastically worse.
They're both filled with a lot of talent. I'll say this is the Broncos. They've lost talent in the past couple weeks. Bradley Chubb, gone. Jerry Jeudy, out for this game. That hurts. All right. But they both are very talented teams.
But the Raiders are so bad in the fourth quarter. I don't understand how they could be this fucking bad in the fourth quarter. And you guys have heard me say it for weeks that Josh McDaniels is going to lose his job. And he should lose his job.
He won't.
Reports are that he can't lose his job because the Raiders are cash poor. Once again, if you listened to this show before, I talked about how the Raiders are not one of those giant billionaire company corporations and their owner. They are almost always cash poor. That's why they couldn't sign Khalil Mack again. That's why they trade him. And now they're in the same situation.
Their owner is spending too much money on his fucking haircuts and children's backpacks. They don't have the money because of that to go out here and take care of their fucking team like they should.
They can't fire the man because they can't fucking pay him and somebody else. This Raiders team is abysmal. They are going down in a heap of flames, and I feel really bad for Derek Carr. I think Derek Carr is at a minimum, league average quarterback, has the potential to be better. We've seen it. At one point, he looked like an MVP in his career before he broke his leg. He played really well last year. He has more weapons now. The coaching is absolutely destroying this Raiders team. But I look on the fucking flip side, and Hackett is absolutely diving this Broncos team into the fucking dumpster. The only saving grace for this Broncos team now is that Kubiak will call the plays. Hackett is out as play caller. Kubiak is calling plays. That is going to be the only difference in this game because the Raiders fucking stink. Give me the Broncos. Money line. They're not covering shit. I do not trust them to cover fucking anything, but I am going to take the Broncos because they now have a new offensive play caller.
All right. So that's Clint Kubiak, by the way, that's taking over for play calling duties, not Gary Kubiak.
Did I say Kubiak?
No. You just said Kubiak. I'm just making sure that people understand. It's not Gary Kubiak. That's Clint Kubiak, Gary's son, who was the offensive coordinator for my Vikings last year. And I don't expect it to be much of an increase in play calling, to be completely honest. I saw what Clint could do, and it wasn't anything fucking special.
Is it better than Hackett?
It probably is better than Hackett, but I think that Hackett is a dumpster fire at managing the fucking game in general. I can't even say it's necessarily his play calling so much as just his game management. He has no perception of what's going on in the fucking game, it seems, when he's actually coaching his team. Like you said, this is a Denver team that is filled with talent, and they don't seem to get it done. This is a Raiders team that has a shitload of talent, and they still can't get it done against a Jeff Saturday-led Colts team who is underperforming hardcore. It is a fucking weird situation for this game. It should be low scoring. I'm surprised that we're seeing 41.5 points on this because the Broncos,
they don't score 18 points a game. They don't score 18 points. They're like 17.2.
It's less. I'm pretty sure it's 16 point something that they normally score on offense. But on defense, they're only allowing that much. So total points in a game, you're looking at over-unders hitting if you're getting 36 points or less, basically, with this fucking team is wild. All right. I think purely based off of the fact that Denver's playing at home, that they have a good roster. I think that the Broncos have the edge here because I can't trust the Raiders at this point after losing that game last week. Look, Russell Wilson, this is I'm still going to go in on the Broncos here. Russell Wilson with the Seahawks had a completion percentage of 65% with arguably a worse receiving core, definitely a worse offensive line. With the Broncos, he has a 50% or 57% completion percentage, which is horrible. And I think that just goes to show as well that he is going downhill. He's averaging 3.6 sacks per game right now.
The ball too long.
It's not great for him. Jerry Judy's out. That sucks. This one almost is a toss up for me. That's why I'm not going to take the point spread here. I'm going to take Denver money line. I got to for my girl. And because Denver's playing at home.
I can't believe we're both picking Denver.
And because it's home for me. Maybe get some of that Walmart magic or something like that. You know, we've got Black Friday coming up, and you know how Walmart loves to do shit with that. I don't know. I'm pulling it and anything in the ether that I can here to figure out what to do with this game. Both these teams, a lot of talent. Both these teams, horrible coaching. Both these teams, supremely underperforming. We expected a lot more from the West this year. That's tough, but I'm going to go with Broncos money line and hope for a positive day there. We'll move on to our next game here. And again, we have about 40 minutes until kickoff for these early morning games. So we've already got the early morning ones in. We're going to be continuing with these afternoons. We have the Bengals and the Steelers being played in Pittsburgh. Another balmy one here in the early afternoon. It is 29 degrees according to AccuWeather. Cincinnati is favored -3.5, over under of 39.5. I do think that this one is a interesting game because the Bengals are a better team than the Steelers for sure. Pittsburgh coming off a bye. It's I think Pittsburgh actually has a chance to possibly win this one, but I'll get into some stats here. It's a divisional game, so this one is going to be played probably pretty close. Week 1, Pittsburgh actually beat Cincy 23-20, and that's when Cincy actually had a little bit more full complement. Like, you know, their star receiver Jamar Chase is out there. Yes, Burrow is coming off his appendectomy and started off the season kind of rough though. It's 14.6 points for the Broncos, or 16.4, something like that. It's wild how bad their offense is as far as scoring points.
By the way, thanks Josh for hopping in here. That's my brother-in-law.
All righty. Cincy, their last 17 games, they are 14-3 against the spread. That's including the playoffs. Tomlin, however, he's 13-3-3 in his career as a home underdog, and he's 7-0-1 against the spread since 2018. So Tomlin does. He is a solid coach. He tends to put together a team that can compete even when they're not really expected to. 3.5 points actually is too much for me in this game to take Cincy. I think Cincy will win this game. I think that because it's a divisional game, it'll be played close. I'm going to take Cincy money line here, but this is kind of like an upset alert type situation for me because the Bengals at 5-4, again, they are fringe looking at trying to get into the playoffs. They normally, or at least I should say normally, last year they got hot around this point. This is where they really started getting hot and kicking off and made that run in the playoffs and getting to the Super Bowl. I don't think that's the same situation right now, especially with Jamar Chase out. Burrow is definitely looking a lot better, but this Steelers team, they're going to be more focused. You know, they've got more time for Pickett to understand this offense. He's got the bye week under his belt. Him and Pickens should start to pick up more. I think that this game could actually be closer to 3 or 2.5 points just because it is that divisional game. I'm going to go and take Cincy because I do think that they are much more talented across the board. So Cincy money line for me, but this is a scary game to bet because I do think that this could be a game for the Steelers to come out and surprise and upset. They already did it once this year, despite it being in overtime.
So based on the things you said, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm taking the Bengals to cover here. They did not play this team very well at the beginning of the year. They lose a game they probably shouldn't lose. Now, the weather is maybe a little bit of a factor. It's 28 degrees. It's going to be down closer to 18 with wind chill, but the wind's not that bad. 6 to 8 miles an hour, 20 mile per hour gust could be there, but everything should be clear by kickoff. I'm not riding with the Steelers team, man. I can't do it. Najee Harris is abysmal. I think that the Bengals are starting to hit their stride. I had Joe Mixon go off a couple weeks ago. I believe we're going to start seeing a lot more Joe Mixon as the weather changes, and I don't know that the Steelers are really going to be able to do much to stop this offensive attack. I believe that the Bengals are starting to hit their stride, and Kenny Pickett is statistically one of the worst fucking quarterbacks in the NFL right now as a starter. He has been really goddamn bad. I know that, don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that Kenny Pickett sucks instead of the Steelers, but I think people thought that we would see a little bit more, that we'd see an uptick from Kenny Pickett as opposed to Trubisky, our boy Trubisky. It just has not happened. I don't think it's going to happen this fucking week either. I'm going to take the Bengals, and I'm going to take the Bengals to cover. I think they're just drastically a better team, and I cannot get behind the Steelers team. I love Mike Tomlin. He is a fantastic coach. I hate the Steelers with every fiber of my being, but I have an immense amount of respect for Mike Tomlin. I just don't know that that team is very good. I don't think his coaching is going to make a difference in this game. I'm taking Bengals to cover the -3.5 because they're going to want to kind of avenge that early season loss. I got them by 7 in this game, but.
All righty. Then we'll be moving on to our Sunday night game later on this evening. We have the Chiefs and the Chargers. This is going to be an interesting one because this has been a game that usually has a lot of firepower to it. And the Chargers just haven't had a lot of firepower this year, but they're getting a lot of their weapons back this week. So both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen are going to be back for this game. This game is being played in Inglewood. It is the home game for the Chargers. The line is currently Kansas City -5.5, over under a 52.5. They're expecting this to be a shootout here. Again, Williams and Keenan Allen both back for the Chargers, both expected to play. Chiefs, they have the second longest win streak on road divisional games at 13. Mahomes actually shares that same stat. For all those 13 games, Mahomes has been their starter. Kansas City is 8-0 straight up and 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 road games versus the Chargers, so they do seem to have the Chargers number. Herbert, he is 5-0 against the spread as a 5 or more point underdog. Again, this line is -5.5 for Kansas City. So I do kind of think that the Chiefs are, well, I don't kind of think, I think the Chiefs are the better team for sure. But they do have, like, Mecole Hardman just went on IR. That offense has done well with what I don't really feel like they have a true number 1 wide receiver there anymore.
I think we're going to see a lot of Kadarius Toney, though.
He did just get his first touchdown. I'm not as hot on Kadarius Toney. I think that he is another one of those number 2s type of guy.
Yeah.
They have a lot of guys
he's
there.
A gadget guy, maybe.
And when you have a Mahomes there, he elevates those people around him. I do think that this is going to be a very high scoring game. I kind of like the over on this one. Chargers still rolling with Austin Eckler. He's having himself a phenomenal year. And then when you get that passing game back for Herbert, or the passing options, instead of having, DeAndre Carter, Josh Palmer as your main guys, I think that is definitely going to provide an uptick there for the Chargers. But he just has not had a great year, and I think a lot of that has to do with lack of receiving options and that rib injury. I don't think I could take the spread on this one. I'm just going to go ahead and take Chiefs money line as well. I'm doing a lot of money lines this week because I don't feel great about a bunch of these bets, but I feel like this is the safe play here. I think the Chiefs are one of the best teams in the NFL. The Chargers have the potential to be one of the better teams in the NFL, but beating the Chiefs right now on a Sunday night where Mahomes likes to show off, it's a tough one. So I'm just going to take the Chiefs money line.
So I expect the Chiefs to win this game, but I don't know that they're that much better than this team. I feel like there are some holes. We have not seen this offense really go outside of when Travis Kelce has massive games. Austin Eckler has been an absolute stud. I'm leaning towards, who would you guys start in fantasy? Mahomes versus Chargers or Justin? Give me a second and I will give you my answer, and I'll let Evo give his as well. I'm leaning towards Chargers plus the points here. I think this will be a close game. Primetime game. Justin Herbert is, I think, very good, even though we have some friends that think he's not great. He won't be a starter in the league after a while. I think they can keep this game close. The fact that they are traveling out to Inglewood and giving the home field advantage to the Chargers, I think will make a little bit of difference. I also, like you, expect this to be a very high-scoring game. Primetime game. 2 young stud quarterbacks. But I'm not ready to hop on this Chiefs train that they're really, really good. Mecole Hardman, I thought, was kind of starting to become a big part of that offense. And then they bring in Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney has done some things. I don't know what that offense is going to look like with no Mecole Hardman and adding Kadarius Toney in there. I'm going to go and I'm going to ride with the Chargers plus the 5.5 points here. I'm going to hop back on the Chiefs never cover train. And I feel like this is a game that it's going to be a little closer.
All right. So as far as this question up on the screen, Mahomes or Justin Fields, personally, I'm going Mahomes. Justin Fields has put up a lot of rushing yards. He's put up a lot of fantasy points. But it's tough to not take Mahomes in most situations.
For me, it's Justin Fields versus Atlanta.
Mahomes is just safe to me.
Mahomes is safe. I think Justin Fields has a big fucking day because of what that offense is starting to morph into. He is going to use his legs quite a bit. Do I think that you have to do one? There's no option for the other? No, you can start either one of those. If those are your two guys that you have an option for, but you're safe either fucking way. But I think Justin Fields is going to have himself a nice little day. I would ride with Justin Fields. But if you're ever talking about putting Mahomes in your fantasy lineup, you're pretty goddamn safe.
Yep. All right. Moving on to our next game. This is our Monday night game being played in Mexico City.
There we go.
Mexico City. Estadio Azteca. This is San Francisco 49ers versus the Cardinals. The line is San Francisco -8 over under of 43.5. So for this one, we have Zach Ertz. He is out for the season. Why does this matter? Because starting tight end, well, he's the reception leader and the receiving touchdown leader for the Cardinals. Obviously, they have D-Hop back.
That's the only reason that he is that thing, because D-Hop was out.
Exactly. He's going to take those reins here before too long. But still, when you take away that sort of production off of an offense, when D-Hop is out, it matters. So that's a big receiving option. Kyler right now, I believe, is still technically questionable. I fully expect him to play this game. I believe he's done with the concussion stuff, but it's a hamstring. I guess it's going to be keeping him out possibly if he were not to play, but I fully expect him to play Monday night. San Francisco, they are 3-0 straight up in divisional games. Again, this is a divisional game, expected to be a little bit closer. Cliff Kingsbury, he's 4-1-1 against the spread, career versus Shanahan. So he does tend to play Shanahan pretty well. Also, San Francisco leads the NFL in total defense. So they're only allowing 280.6 yards per game. So their defense has been pretty stout. I really like where the direction that this 49ers team is going. I think that the more that we see Christian McCaffrey and Deebo Samuels out there together, the more that we're going to see this offense kind of expand. Plus, the defense already is pretty damn solid. So I understand why it's San Francisco -8 points. I think playing out of the country, technically, even though it's just a little bit south of the border, I think that does make a little bit of a difference. It's a different atmosphere, different environment. Hopefully they haven't been doing anything but drinking bottled water down there so no one gets the shits on the field. I am going to take San Francisco in this game as well. I think it's too much for the 8 for me, so I'm going to be taking San Francisco money line. I really like the direction the San Francisco team is going. The Cardinals, they are wishy-washy. Again, the Kyler Murray, we got Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Warzone playing right now.
I was going to bring it up because you know what your boy did this weekend? I downloaded Call of Duty Warzone.
Research purposes only.
Yeah, research purposes only. And you know what else I got this weekend from the Call of Duty? I'm on double XP right now.
Oh, yeah.
I am on double XP for my Warzone that I just started, level 7, by the way, and I fucking stink. This game is going to be interesting. I also like the way the 49ers team is going. I believe that they are a better team. I expect them to win this game. However, I've had this feeling probably all week that everybody is constantly talking about Kyler. Like we're doing it too. We're constantly talking about Kyler and his inability to perform late in the season, especially if there's double XP weekends. But this is not a home game for either team. This is a long travel game down to Mexico City, high altitude. High altitude, I think, is going to benefit Arizona a little bit more. It's going to be a little higher altitude than they would have down in the Bay Area. And I do not think that the Cardinals will win this game, but I think they're going to cover, and I'm going to take the cover. 8 is a lot of points. I believe that they will still lose, and we will still be able to roll with the storyline that Kyler is fucking 0 and however many numbers you want to say on double XP weekends, and Call of Duty is a problem. But I think he is getting really tired of this narrative. I'm not tired of talking about it, but everybody in the world is talking about this narrative with Kyler. He is going to play decent. It's going to be his first game back because I fully expect him to play in this game as well. I think they can keep this close-ish. Still expect them to lose. I think they lose by 6. I'm going to take the Cardinals plus the 8 points because that's quite a bit.
All right. Hey, we'll see. I am actually hoping that that they just kind of keep on losing because I really want to see Kingsbury out. I'm tired of him.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm really hoping for. We have Roberto Gusalina saying he's a big boy.
I mean, he is
referring to Kyler.
I'm pretty sure that Goose is taller than fucking Kyler. I'm pretty sure, but it's close. It's close.
I don't know. It's a tough one. We're talking about less than an inch there, probably.
That's what she said.
Absolutely. All right, so we'll go back in time now and talk about our team's games. So first off, we have the Browns at the Bills, and this game is going to be crazy because there's 6 feet of snow and I don't know how the players are going to be able to play in that. Oh wait!
Oh God, no!
State of emergency. State of emergency. The Browns game and the Bills game has to get moved. Again, I was talking to people at work about this. I was like, hey, if they have to move, I think the smart place is to go to Detroit. No game being played there this week. It's a neutral spot that is relatively close for both teams, and it is someplace that teams have gone to play before when they've had weather issues or stadium issues, such as my Vikings. When we had our roof collapse in the Metrodome, we went and played our next game in Detroit. So they are good hosts towards situations like this. It got even more dramatic because the players couldn't necessarily, they weren't sure if they're going to be able to get out of Buffalo because there was so much damn snow. But they were able to all get shoveled out and make it there to Detroit. So for this game, we have a line of Buffalo -8, over under of 50. I know that you were hard on the under until they end up getting
I was very hard. I was dick riding the under until I found out that they were moving the game. The under is no longer good. The under at this point, what did it end up being? Or the over under?
Over under is
50. So it wasn't 41.5 earlier in the week when we thought we were playing this game in fucking Buffalo.
Yep.
This is gonna be a blowout.
So
we're gonna get our
real quick. We have Joe Rockstar, who's the 49ers rep on this channel. He's saying the 49ers spent the week in Colorado getting used to the altitude, which is pretty smart to do.
Smart.
So that definitely could make a difference there. Some other stuff for this game. It is back-to-back road games for the Browns. This is technically kind of a road game now for Buffalo, even though they're the home team. The Browns defense, they're allowing 26.4 points per game, which is actually second worst in the league right now. Bills offense, they are putting up 27.8 points per game, which is second best in the league. Yeah. So that's rough. Josh Allen, though, he has the second worst passer rating in the NFL since week 8 as a 67.2. He's thrown 5 touchdowns and had 7 total turnovers in that span. Both you and I think we're pretty hard on the Bills being best team in the league. Josh Allen being MVP candidate. Very, very much so in the race for the Super Bowl.
There have been some hiccups in those thoughts in the past weeks, though. There have been some hiccups in the thoughts. Does that change my opinion on this game? Not fucking at all. We're not good. They are good. We can't stop the run. They found a way to run the ball when they needed to last week. Josh Allen can run. We're not good. Now we're playing on turf. We're playing on a faster field.
Very fast field in Detroit.
And I thought that we would have a chance to keep it close within the 8 points if we were playing in Buffalo because it's going to be a snowy, shitty game and we'll just run it out. We're playing on turf in Detroit now. I have no hopes of us competing in this game. It's going to get ugly, and I think it's going to get ugly early. I am not going to take the Bills to cover because I don't know what Browns team's showing up. I expected the Browns to lose to the Bengals. They beat their ass. I expected the Browns to keep it close against Miami. They got their asses beat. I have no idea from week to week what fucking Browns team is showing up. The only two people I can bet on the Browns to do their fucking job and do what is expected is Nick Chubb and Myles Garrett. That is it. Outside of that, it is an absolute crapshoot. It's Bills money line in a slam dunk right here.
Yeah, it's Bills money line for me as well. Look, I got to see those Bills up close and personal last week because that was, look, as a Vikings fan, I didn't expect us to win this game. I took the points and that worked out for me last week, but I was just hoping that we kept it close because I thought that this is, again, like best team in the league, in my opinion, in the Bills. And we were able to go into their home and squeak out a win with possibly, if not the best game of the year so far. Yeah, it was the most exciting game that I've seen in a while. Saw what's being considered the best catch of the year so far and one of the best catches in the NFL all time. I guess the NFL has already added Justin Jefferson's gloves and arm sleeve into the Hall of Fame.
Yes. There was that insane of a catch on a fourth down. It was insane.
A 4th and 18.
Yeah.
And then to have that goal line stop with 12 defenders on the field, fuck the refs, and for us not to get in, but then turn right back around and get a fumble recovery in the end zone for a touchdown to keep that game going. And then we go down, we get ourselves a field goal in overtime, and then the Bills keep going, driving down the field because we know the Bills can do that. We've seen that happen, and Gabe Davis gets a reception that wasn't a reception. Fuck the refs. Because it wasn't reviewed in less than 2 minutes. Yeah. And look, it was just such a wild, emotional game. I was happy, even if we had lost, I was happy that we went out there and duked it out with what I consider to be the best team in the league. And I'm not going to move off of that. I still think the Bills are probably the best team in the league. They're the most dangerous team in the league at the very least. And if Josh Allen figures out these little issues that he's having, because he is having more turnovers than he should, I think he's getting a little bit more ballsy than he should be. I want to see them spread the ball around a little bit more on offense. I don't want to be one-dimensional with Diggs. They need to get Gabe Davis a little bit more involved, and some of their other receivers. I do like what they do with their running game, too. They just don't use it as much because they've got such a great prolific passing offense. And then Josh Allen, when he breaks the pocket, he's so fucking dangerous, man. Another week removed from this UCL injury, or not necessarily removed, but hopefully that UCL injury getting a little bit better for him.
Right.
Again, it's not because the Browns are just so bad. It is because the Bills are so good to me. And
yeah, the Bills are really good.
I'm also not going to be taking this. I'm not going to be taking this 8 points though, because it is an away game for both teams. It is a weird game for both teams on a very fast field. I do think that benefits the Bills because of their receiving core, specifically Stephon Diggs, who also had a phenomenal fucking catch that game. I couldn't even be mad when he made his catch, his one-hander that looked like an OBJ catch. I was like, I loved Diggs when he was with the Vikings, and that's the sort of stuff that he did for us, and it's stuff he's going to do for the Bills. And just turns out Justin Jefferson might just be a better receiver. Yeah. Best in the league. I have been saying it all along. I think he's the best in the league. But we have a question here. How much of a difference will Watson make? Now, he's not playing this week, but we're talking about seeing Deshaun Watson here in the very near future.
I don't know. Honestly, I have no fucking idea. I don't know he hasn't played football in 2 years. I have no idea what he's going to look like.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I could tell you.
For me, in this game, it is Bills money line, safe bet. They absolutely should win this game.
Yep. All right, on to the last game.
Last game. This is a fishy line for me. It is the Vikings and the Cowboys being played at US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. Home game for the Vikings, who are on a tear. They are 7 straight wins right now. The line is Dallas -1.5.
Yeah. Why are you guys dogs? Why are you guys dogs? It doesn't make any sense to me. Dallas ain't that good. You guys have proven to be very fucking good.
We started off with Dallas -1, and it's gotten worse for the Vikings. Doesn't make any sense. This is a very, very fishy line. This is the Dallas team that went to Green Bay last week and fucking lost. They
somehow found a way to lose.
They were up there ahead. They lost. Mike McCarthy, shitty fucking coach. He knows how to lose for the Packers. Now he knows how to let the Packers win. He's just not good for his team. Look, man, again, Minnesota's 7-0 in one possession games. They are 7 straight wins. Jefferson is leading the NFL with 117.8 receiving yards per game. He's on pace for over 2,000 yards along with Tyreek Hill. Cowboys are fucking scumbags. I'm just going to say that for losing last week. A bunch of fucking losers. Cowboys lead the league right now with 35 sacks, so their defense definitely can get after the quarterback. So that's something that we're going to have to worry about with the Vikings. But the Vikings offensive line has just been so much improved. We had our left tackle, who is PFF second graded left tackle in the league, go out last week, and we were still able to win that game. He's back from his concussion this week, so we don't have to worry about that as much. The thing about Dallas and their weakness is kind of like the Eagles. They have the 29th ranked rush defense. All right. So they can get the ball ran on them. They've also allowed Dalvin Cook to have an average 140.3 scrimmage yards in their last 3 meetings. So Dalvin Cook, who is getting hotter right now, he always puts it up against Dallas. Now, I think Dallas is a good team. I think this is another tough matchup. We're getting into that time of year where the rest of our schedule is looking a lot more difficult than it did when we first started looking at the schedule. We're playing a lot of heavy hitters, whether it's Buffalo, Dallas, the Giants. We got the Packers again. We got the rest of the NFC North again. It's a tough one, but I don't get how Dallas is losing points on this one. So for me, it's Vikings money line. I expect us to fully win this game. I'm just going to take Vikings plus the points, even though in my bets.
Why did you do that?
In my bets, the ones I actually have money on, I went ahead and took Vikings money line because I feel confident enough about that. But I'm just, because we're not putting money on here, I'll take the points. Why the fuck not? But if you are actually putting money on this game, I feel comfortable enough to say go ahead.
Vikings money line,
because that is probably better odds for you.
Yeah, I'm taking the Vikings money line. There's no reason they should be dogs in this game. They are the better team, top to bottom, in my opinion. There's not too much else I can say about this. The Cowboys are not impressive to me. The Cowboys found a way to lose to the Packers when they absolutely should not have won. You guys found a way to win against one of the best teams in football. Those are the types of teams that we're talking about. It's the Vikings on the money line, and it's a fucking slam dunk for me. The fact that they're even getting points is insane. This line doesn't make any goddamn sense. Hammer in the Vikings money line. And
Roberto Gussolini here. How's my boy Jalen Reagor doing? Hey, he's an all right punt returner, and he adds a little bit of variety to our offense. He's
better than fucking Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. Our coaching staff is better and understands how to work with the player. Again, Vikings are getting points in this for me. I mean, why not? If I'm not putting money on it, I'll take the points for fucking sure. But if you are putting money on it, like I actually did, Vikings money line here, I feel pretty confident in it. That's not to say, I mean, Dallas is a good team. They have a good defense. Their pass rush does scare me a little bit, but I think we'll be able to make it happen.
All right.
I like it.
Well, that's our last game, right?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, we're going to hurry up and get the fuck out of here. We got about 11 minutes before game start, guys. Thank you very much for everything that you guys do for us. This is the Lineman Lounge. You can check us out on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You can listen to us anywhere podcasts are found. I'm Mike. That's Evo. Make sure you guys get your bets in. You got a couple minutes. Check your fucking fantasy lineups, and we will see you guys next week. Big fucking week. Episode 100 is next week. We're going to be doing, I think, a Saturday night show. We're going to try to get some guests in here and just go balls deep in the week. So thank you guys very much. Thank you for your support. We're going to get the fuck out of here. See you.
Welcome to the Lineman Lounge, hosted by Mike and Evo, calling their shots and being outlandish.
Breaking news from the Lineman Lounge. My fantasy football team just took a huge fucking hit. And that also makes it even more likely that the Raiders are going to beat the Ravens on Monday night. Le'Veon Bell is about to be your starter. Latavius Murray is going to go there as well. Jesus, fuck my ass.
Get ready for the thickest podcast in the game. Coming to you from Hangar 6, where sleeves are optional.